You're listening to Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Join us as we explore how medical professionals can achieve stellar success in all areas of life. It's time to level up.
Hello, everyone. This is Stellar Success Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tudor Francu, and I have the pleasure of having a great guest today, Dr. Raj Venkatramani, and I can't wait to pick his brain on a couple of issues that we might be interesting for our audience. How are you, Doctor?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Dr. Franco, for inviting me to this podcast.
Sure, my pleasure, my pleasure. I read a great book of Simon Sinek that was named Start with Why. And I want to ask you right from the start, what is your why?
So I don't know which there is one why or a couple of whys. I can tell you the little story which led me down this path. So, like most of other physicians, I say you're an immigrant. I'm an immigrant physician. Grew up in a completely different social situation. So,
Right.
what I've been taught from my parents is, hey, don't spend a lot of money, save what you have, right? That's the way to live. And that's what the way I have lived always. And my requirements are very minimal. I don't have like a luxurious lifestyle. I'm very happy with what I have. But what happened is when I turned 40, I've been an attending at that point for about 10 years. And then I said, okay, what's happening? How long can we retire for? And then the amount of effort I put into saving that money and what was left in the retirement account, that didn't make any sense, right? So then I started looking at,
Right.
there should be a better way than what I'm doing. So I was dedicated to academics. I was doing everything right. So that's when I started looking into real estate as an option. The second why I would say is my kids, they are exposed only to medicine, right? All my friends are doctors. I go to a social function, everyone is doctors. They don't know anything other than being a doctor. So what naturally happens is they grow up thinking, I want to be a doctor. If you ask them, I say, hey, I want to be a doctor. My wife is a physician as well. But when I grew up in India and compared to America, there's a lot of difference, right? So
Right.
America has so many opportunities. The path is not limited to one or the other. You can do so many things. So I wanted to serve as an example, right? How to start a business. You can do business here because your kids learn from you. They look at what you do, right? So
Exactly.
that's the other thing. So I wanted them to have options. At the end of the day, if they want to become doctors, I'm very happy. But I don't want them to think that's the only way. So I wanted to show them there are other things that can be done. So that's
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
major part of why I do what I do is I want to show them all the opportunities they have in America.
Very nice. Very nice. That's a great why or whys. Um, I love that. And how would you define your success right now? What is success for you?
Success for me is basically it's very simple from my point of view. It's like I have the freedom to do what I want, right? The freedom to do the things I love, right? At the end of the day, I love my work, so I'm not doing this to get out of medicine. I love being a doctor. That's
Yeah,
my primary identity. I love treating patients. I love interacting with others. I love doing research. But I need to have an option where I'm not doing what I love because I have to, right? Being a doctor because I want to. So that's if you have that luxury of doing things because you want to, then you can live a very fulfilling life, right? So
that's
that is
great.
my short answer to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great approach to understand success. I kind of want to go into a little bit more deeper into what made you successful. And you know, we're trained hard, right, as medical professionals, and we work a lot and many years to learn all these things that we practice. But what do you think are the main skills and habits in your life that kind of pushed you forward to achieve what you want to achieve in your life?
So my wife often tells me, or she's often surprised that she says, for a person with limited skill set, I don't know how you're successful. That's actually she knows me very well, so she knows my skill set. So I don't think I have an extraordinary skill set, but I'm very persistent. So persistence is key. Focus is another one. So those are the things I think, at least whatever success I had, I would attribute to those things, right? So if you want to
Yes.
do something, focus on it and do it. That's
Interesting. Very nice. Very nice. Um, are there any things in your life that you like books, podcasts, any meetings you like to go, anything that additionally comes into your life to learn from?
I'm primarily a cancer researcher. I'm a pediatric oncologist, right? So I'm very involved outside of my own workplace in research, patient advocacy, those kinds of things. So that really energizes me. Of course, I listen to audiobooks. I'm not a big reader of books. I cannot stay in one place for a long time to sit down and read it. But I'm driving around, I listen to a lot of books and stuff.
Good.
I love watching TV. I
Yes.
probably watch more TV than I should. And then, of course, the regular everyone loves hanging out with their children. So that's what I do for fun,
Very
is
nice.
hanging out with the
Very,
children.
yeah, that's great. Was there, you're talking about your research work in pediatric oncology. Do you have an example of a big win in your career that pushed it forward for you and
Mhm.
you remember?
So for me, so I've developed a lot of programs. So we developed the largest rare cancer program for children in the country. So I'm the head of rare tumors in our hospital. I'm the oncology section chief for our hospital. I'm the chair of the Children's Oncology Soft Tissue Sarcoma Committee. So I kind of direct the research in North America towards soft tissue sarcomas in children,
Hmm.
what clinical trials get done. So I've opened a couple of clinical trials under my leadership. That's very rewarding, kind of thing. So those are the things which I would consider small achievements in my career.
Very nice. Very nice. Um, Obviously, that's part of your amazing success, professionally. You are an immigrant, and you told us that you had some challenges in the beginning, obviously as a uh, different culture that you came from, and adapting to United States ways of things. Obviously, you're a risk taker. I can't imagine of an immigrant not being a risk taker in general. How do you approach taking risks in general for your profession and for things that you do outside of your profession?
So one of the things I've thought about it a lot, right? So when I first came into this country, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but not everyone can afford to be an entrepreneur, right? When you come to this
Yeah,
country, first thing is you need security. Uh, this is a basic requirement. So you need to be able to secure a visa, secure a green card. So that's the focus. Then you get married, you want to secure your family's future. So the level of risk you take at that point is minimal, or you don't want to take a lot of risk because you're not alone. You have a family, you need to do all those things. And when I think about it, the time I started taking risk is when I become a citizen. I knew my family's future was safe. That gives you the extra security to take more risks, right? So it's always a calculated risk. Now I take a lot more risk than I took 10 years ago in my career, because as a doctors, we are fortunate that we have a high paying job, right?
yeah,
So you are able to explore entrepreneurship much easier than someone whose primary focus is entrepreneurship, kind of thing. So that's why even now, I think relatively when compared to my situation, the risk I take is not that high when compared to someone else who may be doing the same thing as I'm doing, but in their situation, that might be they may be taking a higher amount of risk. Um, so
interesting.
I, yeah, I feel more comfortable now taking extra risks but 10 years ago, I would not have done those things.
I see. That's cool.
Mhm.
I want to kind of dissect a little bit your recipe for success, right? So part of this is how you approach your life in general. So how does a day in your life looks like, and how do you approach your health, your fitness, your nutrition? What's your opinion on that?
I'm probably not the ideal person to emulate in this regard, to be honest. First thing is my day. Even my wife knows I'm a workaholic. I love working. If I'm sitting idle, then I cannot sit idle basically. So I have to be
Yeah,
doing something. So when I was in medicine research, that took away, like writing papers took away most of my time. Now I'm in a position where I don't have to sit down on weekends and write papers. That's when I started doing all this entrepreneurship. Like started a real estate company, started a software company, those kinds of stuff. So that's what I do. Like I wake up at like pretty early every day, like at least 5 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed early too. By 10, I'm usually in the bed and starting to
yeah.
sleep. So that's my routine schedule. With regard to food, I'm not very good at having a healthy diet. Uh, uh, I'm a vegetarian, that helps. So I don't eat a lot of, like, no meat, but I do eat a lot of food. And this year, from in February, I started doing running. Before that, I never did exercise too. So now
Very
I have
nice.
like a new target. I'm again, whenever I get bored with something, I said, okay, I need to run a marathon. Even though
That's
I never ran like even 100 meters in my life. In school, I hated running. So I took it as a new challenge. I gradually built it up to like this weekend I ran 6.5 miles. That's the longest I've ever run
wow.
in my whole life. So
That's a
hopefully
that's a
I'll
great
reach,
goal.
yeah, hopefully I'll reach run a marathon one day, but that's
Yes,
another thing.
absolutely. I love that plan. It's what you do every day towards that plan, right?
Mhm.
Consistency and persistence, like you said. Um, it's interesting how, we all think about medical professionals earning a lot of money, like you said. And, in general, we're very well financially as a profession. But it's not how much you make, right? It's how much you keep.
Mhm.
So I want to kind of pick your brain on different ideas for medical professionals to develop some kind of passive income streams that can help them later on in life when they cannot practice or they don't want to practice, or God forbid something else happens health-wise with them. How do you see this approach? And I know you're very involved in real estate right now, and how do you see those things going on for someone who wants to get into building up some passive income streams?
So it's interesting. So I had a phone call with, so I have a lot of phone calls with other physicians, right? As part of my company, they book an appointment with me. Last weekend, I had a call with a rheumatology fellow. He's finishing his fellowship, and he said, "Hey, I see all your social media posts. I just want to pick your brain. What should I be doing? I'm just coming out of fellowship. He's going to get a high-paying job, and then again, it's going to depend on the situation in your life. For him, my best advice was, the first thing is when you're an young attending, don't think about real estate. This is what I told him. So that's the play. That's the time you're learning your craft and you're going to become an expert, right? So I don't get distracted with other things. You want to be the best doctor you can be. That's your basic
Yeah.
function in life. So you do that. The other thing I always tell when people call is I go through a series of questions with them. Make sure they say yes to all of those questions before they even consider investing with me. If they say no to those questions, I don't want them to invest with me. Right.
Hmm.
First, I ask them, hey, so the other advice I gave him was, hey, if you want to open your own practice eventually, first learn the business side of medicine, right? Then you can open your practice. That's going to be far more rewarding than real estate or other passive income. So that's the first thing you need to do.
It's funny because nobody teaches anybody about business in medicine, right? We don't learn that in medical school.
So yeah, especially I'm an academic doc. Even now, um, even as an academic doc, you need to know the business side of medicine. People
Yeah,
don't realize it. I'm the director of business operations for our division. So I'm always involved in those kinds of conversations. But the other thing you need to make sure, there are basic things you need to do, is first is maximize all your tax advantage retirement account, right? So a lot of people say real estate, don't trust stock market. I don't believe in that at all. You need
yeah,
diversification, you need stocks, you need real estate, you need other things too. So I said, if there is a tax advantage account, you're already, when you put your money, you're making money. There is a match
right.
from your employer. So make sure you do that, right? Then make sure you have life insurance, and then ladder your life insurance over 30 years, where you can get three life insurance, 10, 20, and 30, so that as you get older, your requirement goes down so that you don't spend a lot of money. Make sure you have disability insurance, right? Make sure you have 529 plan for your kids. So do all those things. After that, of course, don't buy your attending house immediately, right? Think about house hacking. So that could be the best way for you to get into real estate is direct ownership, to see if you may like direct ownership. You may not
Yeah,
like direct ownership, right? If you like direct ownership, and you can do it. You don't need me to do real estate syndication. You can go and build your own empire. So house hacking, get your low down payment, less thing, get a triplex, duplex, or fourplex, and
right.
start there, kind of thing. So those are the things you need to
Especially,
do.
especially as a resident or as a fellow, like you gave the example, you're somebody who's starting off in the medical field and it's young and maybe doesn't have a family yet, or just start building that.
Yeah, these are things I wish I had known, right? For the longest time, I didn't buy a house until like fourth year attending, kind of thing,
Yeah,
because I didn't want to be bothered with it, to pay rent, live my life, kind of thing. If I knew what house hacking was, probably I would have done it. But I didn't have the education. I didn't know how to do it, kind of. But now there are a lot more resources people can use and do this stuff. So that's
yes,
what, even though I'm actually turning away a potential investor for my company, I want to make sure their basics are covered. And only when they have additional income they want to put towards something, I'll be happy to help them out by investing in apartments or new construction, those kinds of stuff.
interesting. Very good, very good. It's all about helping people, right? That comes back to you and pays off probably multiple times.
Yeah, but
Um,
definitely there should. So you asked about a why, right? If I'm in this thing just for making money, the why doesn't like the company doesn't prosper. So if the
right.
why is helping people, they're going to refer other people, saying, "Hey, this person I turned away, he was ready to invest." I said, "No, you need to take care of this thing." He's going to talk to other people and say, "Hey, you need to talk to Raj. He really has your benefit in his mind, so that
Yeah,
I'll get good customers to them." Right. So the more you help, the more people are going to come back to you. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's very important. Um, in multifamily in general, in real estate, right? You mentioned that as one of the main, um, I would say, better tax savings vehicle for investments, because taxes are basically our biggest expense in life, right? And we can avoid them. So in that respect, how would you approach an investment from that point of view? Would you go more and look at more of the cash flow or the capital gains at the end? Are you more of a net worth type of guy? How do you evaluate your investments from that point of view?
Yeah. So again, it's going to depend on the stage of your life, right? So if you're just starting out, even for me, I'm a middle-aged doctor. I don't need monthly cash flow because I'm getting salary. So for me, equity multiplier, net worth, increase in net worth is probably more important than cash monthly salary or monthly income. Saying that, I my basic criteria for investing is the whatever investing, it should have positive cash flow from day one, not like some future appreciation, possible appreciation stuff. So those are two different things. I want cash flowing investment, but I'm not looking for cash flow for myself every month. I'm more looking
Mhm.
for more equity multiple, those kinds of things. And a lot of our physicians, they don't realize, right? So when they come to us, say, hey, I hear that there is a lot of tax advantages. I want to invest in real estate. But as you know, the majority of physicians, W2 employees, are those who are not are becoming very fast W2 employees. So they cannot actually decrease their W2 taxes. There are very few legal ways to decrease W2 taxes, and real
Right.
estate investing is not one of them. Unless you have a spouse who is not working and you can get a rep status, then it's probably a good thing. But if both spouses are working full time, it's unlikely that the real estate investment is going to decrease your W2 taxes. But what I tell them is, whatever money you're going to make from real estate, you can postpone paying taxes on it as long as you can. So that is the advantage. You can have income is essentially, at least at the point now, is tax free, and you can keep deferring those taxes for future thing using depreciation and other 1031 exchanges or lazy 1031, whatever things. So that is the
Yeah.
important advantage of real estate investment. But the other thing is, the first thing is the investment should make sense before I think about tax advantages, right? Regardless of tax advantage, someone says, I'll give you 100% depreciation, but if the 100% of your investment is gone, the 100% depreciation doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So the first thing is
You
it
don't
should be
make
good
an
investment.
investment because of a tax
Yes,
deduction, right?
definitely. But if there is a tax component to it, that's an advantage. And you can plan your taxes around your investment so that you can minimize it, if not completely eliminate it.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm not a tax advisor. I always refer them to the CPA, but I give examples of what I'm doing personally, and then they can learn from it.
That's great. Yeah, that's great advice. Dr. Raj, you part of your success is dealing with failures. And I want to ask you if there was any time in your professional life or investment life that you had something that didn't necessarily pan out. And how did you get through it? And what did you learn from it?
So for sure on real estate side, I've had things which hadn't panned out. So one of our investments in multifamily actually. So because I got into real estate in 2021, end of 2020 and 2022, when the interest rates were very low when I got into real estate, was 3%, 3.5%. And as you can see, the kind of properties we bought initially were value add properties in variable interest. So some of them, or one of them at least, is struggling a lot because the interest rate went up so high. No one expected to go up so high in a short period of time.
It was
Even though
probably
we
a
had
bridge loan.
yeah, it's a bridge loan. Even though we had rate caps, and
Yeah,
traditionally the rate caps are, we bought it for 2 years, because traditionally when Federal Reserve starts increasing interest rate, from the time they increase the interest rate to the time they start decreasing the interest rate is 2 years. Now this has gone on for far longer than 2 years. Hopefully they'll start decreasing interest rate thing. So what we have done is transparent communication. So we have told the investors, hey, this is what happening. This is what we planned for. This is what we are doing, kind of thing. So even in most investors, almost all investors, what they want is transparency and honesty, direct communication. They understand these are investments. And when people come to me, I always tell them that the highest risk of you investing in this is you could lose all your money. So understand that risk, because this is any investment, stock market, anywhere else, is the same amount of risks. So communicate them directly. I'm available 24/7. I talk to them. So my investors are very understanding, and we are still working through that problem. But yeah, they have been very gracious towards me when I explain to them, hey, this is what's happening and this is what we are doing.
I see. Yeah, that's very important. Communication is probably the first thing that counts in a bad outcome, right? And like we all know, the first rule of investing money is try not to lose money.
Mhm.
So most people need to understand that every investment is a risk, no matter how you go about it, no matter how great it looks in the beginning, it's still a risk. Um, what what nugget or advice would you give someone who follows in your footsteps or wants to do what you're doing right now?
So also what I'm doing is I tell them it's when you've gone to medical school, this is not difficult. Real estate is not difficult if you go. So some of the real estate people may not like it, but there is no substitution for putting in the time, right?
Yeah,
It's not that difficult, but you still have to spend a lot of time with it, learn the thing. So people sometimes don't dedicate enough time and they think I can do this. So that's what I tell them is, hey, don't underestimate the amount of time you need to spend. I'm pretty
right.
sure you'll be successful if you spend enough time with it. But you have to spend a lot of time making connections, understanding the economy, understanding the space, how to manage assets, those kinds of things. Just don't get into it and say, hey, I can do it, and don't fake it, kind of things. You have to put in the time to learn
Yeah,
stuff before you use investors' money. So you're using other people's money, um, hopefully to make good profit for them and also good profit for your company, but it has to be in a responsible way. So if you're working already
yes,
80 hours a week, I would not try to do an active thing. And passive investment may be a better option. So you need to
I
have
see.
enough time to dedicate to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people are thinking that this is a get rich quick scheme type of thing, just invest in real estate and I'm gonna be rich. And that that never happens most of the time because real estate is probably the best way to get wealthy, but not necessarily quick rich. And that's a good point you made. This takes time and this takes financial education first
Mhm.
to invest in something like that. Um, but you're doing great things. What's the project? Any projects that you're working on right now? Anything exciting you're thinking about?
Yeah, so yeah, our at least my personal buy criteria is I do class A or B multifamily. I already told you cash flowing from day one. And then, of course, that means that DSCR is pretty good, at least
Hmm.
1.25 or higher. So we are working on a project in Houston. We hopefully will close in the next week or two. It's a 129 unit apartment complex in Houston where it's driving distance from my home, with minimal value add component, because that's
Hmm.
the appropriate thing for this environment we are in right now. And we are doing a loan assumption for 3.82% fixed for the 5 years. So the
Oh,
risk
very
is
nice.
minimal with that thing. And it's 1.5 DSCR when we buy the apartment complex. So that's what's happening in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping to close it. We are waiting for the loan assumption to be approved. Once it's approved, we should be able to close.
Very cool. Very cool. So, Dr. Raj, how can anybody get in touch with you? Any kind of way of connecting with you if they want advice or they want to pick your brain on stuff like this?
Yeah, they can visit our website. There is a calendar link. They can book a call with me anytime. The website is www.redoccapital.com, REIDOC capital.com. I also have a similar podcast to Stellar Success. It's called REI Doctors. So they can, again, listen to doctors like you, me, and others who have been successful. And then hit me up on LinkedIn. So I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. That is my
Yeah,
primary communication. So they can connect me
that's
there as
great.
well. Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I hope my audience will definitely have some many things to learn from our discussion. And I hope wish you great success in your things, and hope to catch up with you soon, maybe later on during the year, and see how you're doing
Yeah.
successfully.
Thanks, Dr. Franco, for what you're doing and having this podcast to educate others.
Sure. Thank you.
That's a wrap on Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Interested in joining us? Go to stellarsuccesspodcast.com/guest to apply. Stay stellar and level up.